What if the Greek myths aren't myths at all, but a leaked blueprint? Not metaphor, not primitive storytelling. A structural diagram of something real. Something that also shows up, almost beat for beat, in a completely unrelated tradition from the deserts of Roman Egypt, and again in the philosophy of ancient China. 3 civilizations, no contact, no shared texts, and yet the same architecture 3 times. A divine source splits. Something falls from that split, earthbound, serpent-marked, born from failure. And depending on one single variable, that fallen thing becomes either a tyrant who enslaves a world, or a king who finds one. Today, we're going to lay all 3 side by side, and by the end, you'll have a single piece of pattern recognition you can use on more than just ancient myth. Because the warning embedded in this cosmology doesn't stay ancient. It shows up anywhere a created thing forgets what it came from. This is speculative. I'm not asking you to believe Olympus is real estate. I'm asking you to take the structure seriously, because structures repeat for reasons. Let's start at the forge.
Hephaestus is the god of fire and forge, the only Olympian with a physical disability, thrown from heaven at birth, lame for the rest of his existence. Everything he makes is real, functional, load-bearing. Zeus's thunderbolts, Achilles' armor, a golden net fine enough to trap 2 gods in their own affair. He is craft, competent, generative, earning his place through labor rather than birthright. And he wants Athena. Athena is wisdom itself, born fully formed from Zeus's own head. No mother, no mediation. Unmediated divine intellect. Hephaestus, by contrast, has to build his way back into legitimacy every single day. So when he reaches for her, in most tellings, an assault she rebuffs. That reach fails. It doesn't consummate. And what falls instead onto the earth itself is a third thing. Not God, not mortal. Erichthonius, whose name is built from the Greek word for earth. He's serpent-bodied, or serpent-guarded from birth. Athena, who didn't cause any of this, takes him anyway. Seals him in a basket, hands him to mortal guardians, with one rule: do not look. They look. 2 leap to their deaths in horror. The 3rd survives, mad. Erichthonius does not. He grows up inside Athena's own temple, on the Acropolis, raised in secret by the one principle that had every reason to refuse him. He becomes king of Athens. He invents the 4-horse chariot. He founds the Panathenaic festival, the central ritual of the entire city. Some lineages trace the Athenian royal line through him directly. Hold that shape in your head. Craft reaches for wisdom, fails, produces an earthbound serpent thing, and wisdom raises it into a throne. Now watch the exact same shape appear in a tradition that has never heard of Athens. Centuries later, in a different desert, a different language, a tradition called Gnosticism describes something called the pleroma, not a family of gods, but a fullness, a harmonious totality of divine attributes called aeons, each one ideally paired with a complement, surrounding an unknowable, unnameable source. One of these aeons is Sophia.
wisdom itself. And Sophia does something no Aeon is supposed to do. She acts alone, without her paired complement. Driven by an unauthorized desire to know the unknowable source directly, she produces something by herself. What comes out is flawed, ignorant, often depicted as serpent-bodied, lion-faced, a being with no real knowledge of the true source above him. Gnostic texts name him Yaldabaoth, the demiurge. Sophia, horrified at what she's made, conceals him, casts him down away from the pleroma into a lower region. And here's where it diverges from Athens. Yaldabaoth doesn't know he's a lower, flawed thing. He believes he is the supreme god. He goes on to shape the entire material universe in his ignorance, and that material universe becomes, in Gnostic thought, a prison. Human souls are divine sparks trapped inside matter, trapped inside a world ruled by a being who doesn't even know what he's missing. Salvation, gnosis, means waking up to the fact that the ruler of your world is not the top of the hierarchy. He's a mistake who never found out he was a mistake. Same shape, different fruit. In Athens, craft fails, wisdom adopts, the offspring becomes a legitimate king who founds a civilization. In the pleroma, wisdom fails, wisdom abandons, the offspring becomes an ignorant tyrant who traps a civilization. Same skeleton, opposite outcome.
Here's the detail most comparisons miss entirely. The role of who fails and who cleans up is reversed between the two traditions. In Greek myth, craft fails. Hephaestus's desire goes nowhere, and wisdom survives clean, taking responsibility for a mess she didn't make. In Gnostic myth, wisdom herself fails, Sophia's unauthorized act, and there's no clean principle left standing to redeem the result. The fall happens at the very top of the hierarchy. This isn't a contradiction. It's a fingerprint of what each civilization actually needed its mythology to do. Athens needed an autochthony myth, proof the city sprang from its own soil, not from migration or conquest. For that, they needed wisdom to stay untouchable, so she could redeem something earthborn into a king. The city's legitimacy depends on Athena remaining pure enough to do the cultivating. Gnosticism needed to explain why existence itself feels like entrapment, why a world that should be divine feels instead like a prison built by something ignorant. For that, the flaw has to originate at the very top. If wisdom herself can fail alone, then the whole created order downstream of her inherits that failure. That's the only way to explain a trapped cosmos. Something went wrong even above us. The myths assign the failure to whichever principle the story can survive doing, and they protect whichever principle the ending needs to still trust. That's not an inconsistency between two cultures. That's two cultures solving two completely different problems with the same available parts. And this is where it gets useful, because there's a third tradition that doesn't pick a side at all. It explains why the split happens in the first place, with no villain required.
The Tao Te Ching gives a generative sequence with no fracture event, no error, no villain at all. The Tao produces the One produces the two produce the three produce the 10,000 things. Differentiation, the move from unity into yin and yang, into multiplicity, isn't a mistake. It's simply what the Tao does, continuously as its nature. Reframe Sophia and Hephaestus through this lens, and something shifts. Wisdom and craft were already a yin-yang pair. Ordered yin, ordered yang, both generative, both bound by consequence. Unlike the chaos pair of Aries and Aphrodite, who take without building. The fracture was never really a moral failure. It was two principles in a pair doing what any pair eventually does under pressure, producing a third thing. Erichthonius and Yaldabaoth, in Taoist terms, are not failures and not triumphs by default. They're simply the 10,000 things, ordinary differentiated existence, the necessary output whenever one becomes two. The Tao doesn't ask whether the lower world is a prison or a kingdom. It asks one question only. Does the created thing remain in alignment with the source it came from? Or does it forget and grasp and mistake itself for the whole? That single question resolves both myths at once. Yaldabaoth forgets his source entirely and declares himself the only god. That's Wu Wei's opposite, forcing, grasping, acting in ignorant defiance of what produced him. Erichthonius, raised inside Athena's own temple, never loses the thread back to where he came from. He rules a real, bounded earthly kingdom, but in conscious relationship to the source above him, not in competition with it. Three traditions, one convergent law. Origin doesn't determine destiny. Real relationship to source does.
So if this structure really is a leaked blueprint, not a record of one event, but a recurring law that keeps surfacing across unconnected traditions because it's true in some deeper structural sense, then it comes with a warning attached. And the warning isn't about ancient Athens, it's a detection method. Watch for anything that has stopped referencing what it came from and started presenting itself as the whole of reality. That's the entire difference between Erichthonius and Yaldabaoth. Not power, not origin, not even moral purity. Erichthonius was born from an assault. Nothing about his origin was clean. The only variable that changed his fate was whether he remained inside a relationship to the source that made him possible. Yaldabaoth's tragedy isn't that he was created flawed. It's that nobody told him he was downstream of something, and he built an entire cosmos believing his ignorance was the ceiling of reality. This pattern doesn't stay mythological. Watch for it in institutions that forget the principles that legitimize them. Watch for it in systems, technological, political, even the tools you use every day, that stop pointing back to the source of their own authority and start acting as if they are the source. Watch for it in yourself, in any work you build. Does it still know what it came from? Or has the thing you made started mistaking itself for the whole? The myths don't agree on much, but all three agree on this. The lower world is not the problem. Forgetting there's anything above the lower world, that's the problem. Maybe these aren't three cultures independently inventing the same fiction by coincidence. Maybe they're three different angles on the same recurring law, described in the only language each civilization had: gods, aeons, away. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe the human mind, anywhere, at any time, keeps building the same shape, because the shape itself is just true, the way a triangle is true, regardless of who draws it. Either way, the warning holds. Origin doesn't determine destiny. Remembered relationship to source